All right, guys, what's up? This is Modern Renaissance Man with Peter. I've been a little absent because some good stuff happened in life. But now I'm back with my first long form video for this channel that I've taken very seriously. As you can see, this is on Microsoft PowerPoint. Um, as you know, I'm a very big person on self improvement. I've seen all kinds of things with YouTube, especially for men's health and men's self improvement over the years. And this is not necessarily a culmination of all the things before. This is an advancement and a deeper dive into it of what I think, what I personally will go through to become a Renaissance man. And I wanted to put this video out there for anyone that's interested in it and wants to see my thought process. So let's get started. So first, the table of contents, we're going to define what exactly is a Renaissance man. Not idealized, but something that is constructed with a clear pathway of what people want to be, with a little bit of wiggle room so that everyone can become one. Why would you even want to become one, right? This entire process can be grueling. How do you become one? And I'm going to get into the concepts I made up over the years of the three masks and the phases of change that you'll undergo. So let's get started. All right, so what is a Renaissance man? And if you type into Google with the AI overview, you'll see a typical explanation of someone that has mastery or at least expertise in multi-disciplines, right? I believe beyond skill set, there is a psychological and philosophical approach to this that answers to higher self-actualization. So we're going to discuss this, and we're going to more importantly discuss like people in history, people in fiction, and people in modern history that a lot of people will recognize back in the 80s and 90s. So the most obvious one is, of course, a Leonardo da Vinci, the man of the hour. So these are his feats that a lot of people would continuously mention as a modern day Renaissance man, right? So we got someone that's a masterclass artist. He painted the Mona Lisa, The Last Supper. He pushed the art world forward with the studies of anatomy. So if you know about that, the story goes that he would sneak into cemeteries at night, where the cemetery watcher with the gas lit fire to light the way, he's gone, and then Leo would sneak in there, take up the bodies, take the corpses back to his lab, and perform anatomy studies, dissections, and would have it more accurate depiction on blood vessels, the whole entire cardiovascular system from top to bottom. So it's actually one of the most interesting pathways forward for not just art, but it's also medical science, right? So he created contributions to the scientific world with dissections, just like I said, with anatomy and hydrodynamics. So I think it was in Italy and Florence, where they had a whole entire sewer problem. And obviously when you use the bathroom, back then there wasn't a clear pathway of like, how can you curtail dirty water from clean water? And he developed one. I think he submitted it, and it was probably used for the city of Florence. But it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you're an artist. People know you for art. But like your scientific background has allowed you to contribute meaningfully to help make things literally cleaner and better for modern world. That's just amazing. Obviously, a lot of people remember he's an inventor. He designed sketches and blueprints for machines like tanks, planes, helicopters, and engineering concepts of his time. So I think everyone's seen, the prototype and then the depictions of him with a flying machine where he wanted to be human and fly. It's one of those things where you get closer to the sun, you can get burnt. That's the whole entire type of thing. But he was so ahead of his time, and he made other things that are not like unbelievable. He used things that he, as best as he could from his time, that were ahead of his time to develop technologies that we probably would pull from. And it's kind of the whole like modern day scientists are standing on the shoulders of giants. Brilliant people back then didn't worry about, oh, well, you know, we can't do this or that. They just designed. They just designed and said, let's just see what happens from here. Obviously, intellectually deep with his anatomy, philosophy, math, music, astronomy, art, and cartography studies. One thing people keep bringing up is like back then it wasn't that deep, so it wasn't that impressive to be able to go into multiple fields of study. So like can you do that today? Of course you can. You would obviously need to invest more time and energy and money, but like, with the technology we have now, you can definitely pull this off too. And I think that's just amazing that what we know him as an artist brought him into so many different fields of study to expand beyond himself, to bring that back into art. Why we appreciate the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper was a culmination of his very soul, which is a culmination of his studies and his intellectual and curiosity pursuits. And this is a crazy one, of course, is the early ideas of robotics, which I think is the coolest one. His understanding of anatomy, art, just brought into something so, abstract into reality based, where it's like, okay, that's really cool. You're gonna design robots back in the day. Let's see what happens now. So what's the word that we think of when we think of Leonardo da Vinci now? Like, what is the ultimate depiction I would like to say we should draw from as being a Renaissance man? What's the trait? It's curiosity. Just like I told you just now, he wasn't limiting himself as just a wealthy artist that happened to have some education. His pursuit on different subjects pulled them together, made him into a well-rounded individual that was intellectual and was very, very like, just capable of contributing to multiple fields and talk with fellow mathematicians and scientists back in the day, and even contribute to anatomy. Now, obviously, that's illegal. That's straight up illegal. You can't just be grabbing bodies and dissecting them. That's morally questionable, reprehensible at worst. Just straight up weird. But like, it's just one of those things where it's like his curiosity just brought him forward and made him just an unforgettable character, pushing the very definition of art and beauty to the ultimate finish line of like, you will be remembered forever. And I think you got to bring that back, that childlike curiosity back, where you don't say like, I'm limited, I can't do that anymore. It's like you should be thinking like, well, what else can I do? What else am I interested in? All right, our next guy, of course, the guy that everyone thinks like he just needs prep time, the guy that thinks everyone's like, oh, he's gonna learn that quickly. Batman, or also known as Bruce Wayne, right? He doesn't need much introduction, especially in the internet world, but we'll just go through it real quick. A lot of people know him from the films and maybe a little bit from the comics. No, he's a pretty small guy in the comics. I'm joking, but he's an amazing combat expert. He knows every martial arts and weapons handling. I don't know if y'all actually read his origins, but it was very fascinating. The way he was going through sequentially learning the martial arts he thinks he's learned. He learned boxing from the greatest heavyweight boxer during that time of becoming Batman. Learned judo, ninjutsu, aikido, fencing, karate, an ancient form of Korean and Japanese martial arts, wrestling. That wrestling story was weird but funny, and then weapons handling, obviously. Because if you know his backstory, there was a part where he joined, I think, the FBI or the CIA at one point, and he didn't want to use guns. I think that was a rehash. But yeah, so he knew every weapon, he knew every martial art, and he was considered one of the foremost experts in the DC universe. To the point where Shiva, I think, which is the greatest martial arts expert, well respected him. All right, so the next one is the world's greatest detective. So typically, he would go solve mysteries with very little evidence. So intensely abstract, really thinking outside your box mysteries that's based on like incredibly crazy psychopath criminals that just are doing weird stuff with superpowers and you're just a regular human being. How are you gonna solve that? All right, not just solve that, but like solve that and like not kill them. So incredible detective with high moral ground, and obviously his detective skills go hand in hand with the next part, with his amazing tech and engineering skills. So those two right there are also part of his origin story. He learned from the greatest cop and detective. He was doing like not an internship. What would they do in the police world? They would do a ride along, I guess. And for engineering, he learned from the greatest engineer in like Egypt. And I think his final test was his final test was ridiculous. He had to disarm literally a bomb while trapped in a tomb in Egypt with a pyramid and do that handcuffed or something ridiculous. I remember thinking to myself like, this is, I don't know if MIT or Georgia Tech would ever test their students like this, but okay. His other interests, similar to Leonardo da Vinci: stealth, psychology, botany, pharmacology, all useful stuff that he would use to do his calling better. He wanted to catch people on surprise. He wanted to impose fear. Psychology, to understand the psychological profiles of every criminal he was chasing after, all these supervillains. Botany, that was for poison ivy. Pharmacology, that was against a lot of things. That was against a lot of things, like Joker with the Joker toxin, obviously the fear toxin from Scarecrow. Obviously, everyone knows the famous line, I think from Justice League: "What's your superpower?" "I'm rich." So he's insanely wealthy. He has resources that are endless, and not just money. His resources include his contacts. He's able to draw the expertise of people he's made in the past as Batman and also as Bruce Wayne. I think he's one of the most underrated superpowers of being Batman and Bruce Wayne is his ability to network and draw people closer, which goes hand in hand with psychology, sociology, being wealthy, being considered incredibly good looking, um, and self-dependent. So another thing is, of course, his intelligence. They say something ridiculous. It's like 190, right? 190 on the IQ score in the DC universe for human beings. He had peak human conditioning and insanely generous with his wealth, which is one of the coolest things. And in the story of Batman, there's continuous mentions of Bruce Wayne extending the Wayne family's influence, sphere of influence, contributing to this, child care, contributing to this hospital, contributing to this school. And there's nothing selfish about him because, Bruce Wayne has never left that alleyway ever since his parents died there. And he wanted to, instead of being selfish, instead of becoming a villain, he could have been the ultimate villain, by the way. He absurdly doubled down on being generous and helpful to everyone and selfless. So, incredibly smart, peak human conditioning, is able to do it all, fight and, manipulate people in some ways. But he decided to become better. And with all this said, if you're going through something and you decide to become better throughout it all and not give up hope on humanity, there's only one word I could describe it as: discipline. I think it takes incredible discipline to not be tempted at a young age to give in to just being wealthy and, you know, just divulge into just becoming a monster that's a gluttonous pig. He decided to become better. And that's one of the hardest things to do, but it's one of the most important things. All right, we're going to talk about Dolph Lundgren, which I hope I spelled and pronounced correctly. He is a recent Renaissance man, in my opinion, that is very inspirational. I actually knew about him before I saw Rocky 4 because he was mentioned in a YouTube video of one of the most impressive human beings. He actually can fight. He's a 4th degree black belt Kyokushin karate. He won some international competition like the European Karate Championship. I actually watched his sparring videos. He's actually very sharp and good and intimidating. Very awesome. Very awesome. The actual spirit of karate, right? He's got his chemical engineering degree from the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, and he won a Fulbright scholarship all the way at MIT. He did not attend because he wanted to pursue acting, the arts. But that's so far showing the physical aspect, the intellectual aspect. High IQ. I think he was rated pretty high up there. He was like in the 140s, 150s. And winning a Fulbright scholarship at MIT for your master's or your doctorate, but then deciding to go after art instead, it shows a lot of great leverage and control over his life where he knew exactly where he wanted to be. This is awesome. To put on further, he was extremely fit, and during that time he explored beyond just karate. He actually did weightlifting, gymnastics, other combat sports like wrestling. And of course, everyone knows him as Ivan Drago in Rocky 4, and it showed his ability to act. A lot of people say he was too stoic and blah, blah, but if you saw his other movies, he can definitely act, and he's just a person that divulges and enjoys the arts. He did poetry. I think he enjoyed music, but really cool guy, and definitely someone to look up to. So what's the word that you can think of when you look at this guy? I mean, it's just like, he won in life, right? Like, you would look at this and be like, that's a full life. You did so much, you've seen so much, and you seem to like put life in your own way, right? Excellence. So excellence, I chose this word mostly because it's like, it's very hard to get higher than what he has done unless you absolutely put your life into it and made it nothing else. There's very few people that can go high in almost everything they decide to pursue. Martial arts, winning a tournament that's international level is incredible. You're meeting global talent, people that are crazy and say, this is my only way of making out of poverty. Becoming, winning or not, doing a chemical engineering degree and then winning a Fulbright scholarship all the way to MIT. Like, that is incredible. And then, of course, pursuing acting and making it to the big leagues of like Rocky 4. That is just, it's hard to say, like, what else can you do after? Maybe run for president, but, that's just incredible. So, just a refresher, like, we got curiosity, discipline, excellence. That's what it means to be a Renaissance man. It can't just, just be simply like you're going to have mastery or expertise in multiple disciplines. There are traits that if you have this, you can go further into becoming a Renaissance man. Being curious and saying that I want to learn this or that, not just because I think I have to, but because I want to. Being disciplined and doing it on a consistent basis and not letting yourself, sway off the road and not committing to it on a daily basis. And doing it at an excellent standard, not just checking off the boxes or switching your interest day by day. You're actually going to go for it as hard and as high as possible. I think that's awesome. I think that's why I'm so attracted to being a Renaissance man. But let's actually talk about it further. Why do you want to become a Renaissance man? Why would you want to put yourself through this? What's this even for? Are you sure you want to spend your time doing this? These are questions that people ask, Like, people see life as something to enjoy, right? And there's different ways to enjoy it. So why the heck would you want to be a Renaissance man? It sounds exhausting, right? We just read a list of all these feats and accomplishments from these people, fiction or not. Well, why the heck would you want to go through something that just sounds like a lot? Well, there's a beauty in the pursuit of greatness, which is reason number one. The pursuit of greatness is itself a reward. The journey truly is the best part of becoming, and the process can be more fulfilling of the outcome. Mastery or contribution, or even the personal excellence by seeing what you're made of, is what makes life feel rich. And I think there's something about where people say you can't take your wealth with you to the grave and all that stuff. And there is some truth to it that you're remembered by others by how you make them feel, you know. And the pursuit of greatness itself, we're inspired by athletes that break a new record or win a competition. We're inspired by artists that paint or draw or animate or sculpt something that we are so pleased by. We're inspired by music artists that give us a new sound to resonate with us. And music is a universal language. We're inspired by, scientists that despite bad funding, despite, pushback from the scientific community, discover something that can save and change lives. The pursuit of greatness itself is just one of the most innate and beautiful callings. I mean, you can't stop evolving. If you stop evolving, you essentially die. So you got to push forward to something. And sometimes pushing forward is the thing. So that's what's awesome. You have limited time on this earth. Your mortality is enough motivation to get started. Life's fleeting moments can be spent on creating and molding yourself, and that's the beauty of time. Your payment of every second of your day to improve your situation yourself. Your limited time makes those cultivations of knowledge and skill more meaningful for spending that time on it. I think the, memento mori, people saying things like stop wasting your time, and things like that. And how the Greek gods were actually jealous of, the human beings because, essentially they're immortal. And because they're immortal, their pleasures and everything they do become meaningless because they've already done it. And there's just no point to doing anything else because you have the ultimate time to do so. The very factor that I think this is the simplest example. You have 24 hours a day. They have 24 hours a day. They decide to spend the time on you. It shows how meaningful it is. They decide to invest time into you. Your investments are valuable because it's limited. And then at the end of the day, by the time you die, you see a report card, you see a scorecard of how your time was spent. And there's no better investment than really in yourself. It's the best return. I mean, it's just going to open doors and give you opportunities. Speaking of which, the deeper connections and significant opportunities from pursuit of being a Renaissance man. So finding commonality, others, and mind and spirit to achieve your highest self is how to enrich your soul. It helps answer questions, find a tribe, and helps align towards your path. Exposing yourself to multiple disciplines and different passions can help you find who you are and what kind of person you want to surround yourself with. I think 90 to 95% of my male friends are from the gym. My pursuit and wanting to volunteer for, art and animation has opened doors for me and learn and appreciate art at a deeper level. My closest friends are all on the pathway to become greater men, It's something that you can't live by yourself in modern society, You kind of live with society. And who you surround yourself with is ultimately who you kind of become. And there's no better standard to surround yourself with than saying, like, I want to be better. Do you guys want to be better? I think it's one of the best things to have. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want to push you to be better kind of helps you prevent falling into a spiral. Let's say depression, gluttony, selfish behavior. Holding yourself accountable, holding others accountable just feels great. And it kind of makes things easier to achieve in a group, I'm not going to lie. So Yeah, so we got this going on, and let's recap this. So, why? The pursuit of greatness itself is a blessing and a reward. You have limited time on this earth, there's no better way to spend it, right? And the connections all along the way are meaningful and continue to hold you accountable. And it's kind of healthy. Not kind of, it's very healthy for your mental health. All right, so how become a Renaissance man? So, people will be saying, "What's the plan, my man? How are you gonna do this song and dance and finally make it to the party?" I just made that up. I think that's clever. There has to be, not just a saying, not just a generalized like, okay, I just got that, YouTube motivation. I just got that Instagram motivation. How the heck how do I do this? Am I just gonna wing it? No, I'm a very strategic person with structure and a lot of analysis, stepping back and analyzing like what's worked and what didn't work, right? So let's talk about this. Before we talk about actually to become, you must do. This it's play on the words with the whole Yoda things like don't try, do, thing. So in any endeavor to change, you must pay with effort and intentional planning. So if you actually want to change, if you actually want to do things differently, you're going to have to actually try, and you're going to actually try within a structure. And the reason is because of this. If you just don't try hard enough, you don't get to say it didn't work. And if you do try but you didn't plan it, you're going to be spinning your wheels in mud, and the car is not going to go anywhere. So let's define effort is measured and concentrated focus towards a goal. It must be an amount that moves the needle on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So basically, the saying of 1% better every day is great. Effort cannot be confused with productivity. Productivity implies you need to, that's a mistake, to see some kind of clear and tangible change per day. Sometimes the results are hidden in our seeds, right? You don't need to see some type of tangible improvement every single day. You need to see some kind of improvement in your process every single day. And then the efforts and then the productivity and the results will come along with it. You need to say like, okay, like say for boxing, okay, I intentionally practiced having a quicker and smoother hip rotation for the straight. And I did put into 100 to 200 reps today. I felt a little bit of neuroplasticity developing, so that my connection from my brain to my body, it's feeling better. Cool. Record it, analyze it, and then we get to the next part, intentional planning. You must plan for the goals. Commit to doing this, step back and analyze and replan, right? You gotta have to like not just do these like, what's the name of the horse from Animal Farm? Boxer, right? I used to be this way. Boxer would say something like, I'm going to work hard today, or I'm going to work harder. And this is not a whole entire capitalism rant. This just on the character. I'm going to work harder today. It doesn't help to work hard. I mean, it can help to some degree, but it helps to be able to work hard, record it, or have some way of keeping it in archives and then analyzing it later and say, hey, you know what? I dropped my hand when I threw that punch. That is not good. I need to work on drills for that, so that overall you're making effort. So let's talk about the three masks. All right, for the three masks to happen, you're going to have to take action, which will eventually form habits, which will cultivate your identity, will shape your destiny. I can't wait to talk about this part, because this is something I crafted for the past 90 days, and this is one of the things I love. This is inspired by multiple things, a little bit of persona, a little bit of young psychology or whatever. But I want to read this off real quick. Your masks that you don are crafted by your own expectations and your own decisions up to this point. In a way, your very nature and your results were in your own decided capacity. So this means basically if you tell yourself you can or can't do something, you're both correct, right? Um, I think it's very obvious that there's a lot of self accountability, and the ability to do stuff is within your hands, is what I'm saying. So if you decide you have no limits, you have endless capacity to learn and grow, which goes hand in hand with Leonardo da Vinci's um, curiosity and excitement to learn different fields, right? But you may need different masks, right, for different tasks and different packs of people. This is referring to if you have to take on these different goals and different challenges that you're looking for, you may have to take on a different mentality for each one, and you're still the same person. So what does a Renaissance man need to navigate in the modern world? Okay, so we're looking at your different masks, right? And the first one is out of the three, you do not simply just stay in and do nothing. This entire meme from Lord of the Rings is referring to you can't conquer the world from your bed. You need to start taking action. And one person that takes action is the ultimate. Right there is Doomsday. He is the ultimate adapting creature thing, the ultimate killing machine from DC, right? And the mantra and the mentality we're going into this for this mask is the mind, body, and soul will bend to my will. You need to have control over yourself, especially in the physical, mental, and strategic place. So, from my understanding of the ultimate, you're going to focus on the different components of fitness, which is strength, power, mobility, flexibility, agility, speed, cardio, and balance. I'm actually a personal trainer, and each one of these have to be covered, or else we're not giving you a full workout. The next part is strategic thinking, capacity for cognitive reasoning. So one of the things that we look at, especially from the ultimate perspective, is you can't just be physically strong, fast, and flexible. You need to work on your IQ. You need to work on your ability to think and learn new stuff. And that goes hand in hand with each one of the Renaissance men we looked at earlier for inspiration, right? So that includes the multiple disciplines of hard sciences and maths, the survival training or self-efficacy for all matters of staying alive. Being able to protect yourself and take care of yourself will lead to you being able to take care of others. It's awesome. And you're going to simulate it with time-intensive and dangerous training under stressful situations with multiple factors. And you will expose yourself to different terrains, vehicles, and weaponry. This will lead to just you being able to trust yourself and go through any trials and tribulations as the ultimate. You're going to be the ultimate adapting machine. You're going to be constantly evolving. You're going to push yourself because you need to have simulated, experiences that just show that, yeah, I can trust myself. I can do these things. That confidence will lead you into all kinds of places and make you all the more better. I think the confidence to trust your body to do hard work or survive, the confidence in your brain to adapt and think critically under stressful situations, and the confidence of having a backlog of all the information you've studied before, the sciences and maths, and be able to critically think, that confidence is going to take you very far. So the three divisions are, of course, physical training, which is depicted by the current lightweight champion of the UFC, Ilia Topuria. Right, he does boxing. He doesn't mix martial arts, but he does boxing, wrestling, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. And of course, besides him, you would also do speed training, weightlifting, flexibility, mobility. If you're interested in swimming, gymnastics, everything that can help you. Everything that can help you and make you survive harder. Studying, so you got to expose yourself to different sciences and maths. I think it's a good time to just study algebra just because it's useful for modern day living. Be able to do math in your head. Understand calculus to be able to understand change over time. Statistics and probability, reading research papers and understand their nuances and inferences and understanding if they came to the right conclusion when they made that paper. Strategy. This is Batman. Oh, and by the way, study that was Napoleon when he was young. That's a famous painting of him. That beautiful big cast of shadow, hinting at his future of being more than just a student. Strategy. This is Batman and Mobius chair. Batman is probably the most strategically inclined person in the entire DC universe. So you gave him the Mobius chair, the all-seeing eye, and he's just omniscient. He can see everything and plan for everything and just prepare for everything. I mean, this is going to be awesome. So understanding the different ways to protect yourself and protect others, understanding survival mechanisms out in the woods, and understanding how like to prepare for dangerous things. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the ultimate, and everyone can be the ultimate, but not everyone will be the ultimate. All right, so how do you even afford this, right? How the heck do you even like do this stuff? To do all this intense training, studying here and there, gym memberships, supplements, food, rest, and just in general making things happen. Well, you're gonna have to become the emperor. This is the next mask. You're gonna command limitless leverage. I think one of the most important things is having finance. Money is reality. Money is reality. I'm not a money obsessed person, but I understand that it's a form of transaction for energy and time and services and goods. So how are you going to become the emperor? So you're going to have your leverage allowing you to do what, when, how, and where for each project. For example, if you're going to plan a camping trip to expose yourself to the wilderness and Mother Nature, you're going to have money for that. You're going to have money for a gym. You're going to have money for martial arts training. You're going to have money for firearms training. You're going to have money for instruction on how to survive, private training, the resources you're going to have is including finances, land, business, people, and transportation. You're going to have multiple streams of income, and they're going to be direct and indirect pathways. You're going to have a 9 to 5, okay? Everyone's going to have a 9 to 5 to start. There's very few people that can just sort of, just get it, right? There's very few people that are born as a trust fund baby. There's very, very few people that, even though they're poor, they're normal, they can just go straight into content creation and just make money off of that or be lucky. There's very few people that have a talent that are exposed to the right person at the right time to go into a professional, most people generally are going to have a 9 to 5. You're going to have current income to be able to make more income. You're going to it's like what my friend overheard someone say, you're going to have to spend money to make money type of thing. You're going to continue to move up in financial stability by establishing purchase and appreciating assets. So that's gold, land, business, look into the stock market, obviously. And then you're going to have financial independence, which is going to be achieved through trial and error, not just luck or wishing. As you go beyond your primary income and you're going to look into your secondary income, that secondary income might suck. Like putting that many hours outside of your main job, not just studying the ultimate, but also training and being exhausted, and then being exhausted from your primary income to go into your secondary income, and then figuring that out and getting your tertiary income. It's going to be exhausting, but it's going to be worth it, because achieving that stability and more resources will help you achieve financial independence sooner. Because what if your secondary income that you enjoy more eventually becomes your primary, because you can start a business? So the 3 methods, you're going to have to stabilize your finances. There's a lot of great resources for personal finance, understanding where you are in the ladder. Do you have enough money from your your primary source of income to pay your month to month? Great. Have you saved up a certain amount for emergency? Great. Are they in like a high yield savings account? Are they, are you contributing to a 401k? Do you feel comfortable right now with your primary source of income? Next are the multiple streams of income, things that don't have to be as active. Maybe you have a digital store. Maybe you go on live and you get donations. Maybe you also like take part in a secondary job that you enjoy and you can see yourself doing in the future as a primary. So finally, appreciating assets. It would be great to own land, businesses, and more gold, and just things that just accrue over time so you don't have to work as hard and you can retire earlier. I mean, that'd be great. So hold up. Before you go on and you're thinking, okay, now I know I have to train my body, mind, and spirit. Now I know I have to make money. I'm ready to go. Hold up. You're missing a key component, and it's very, very important. You're going to have to learn to be a courtier or courtier. The saying goes is people are power. It's not, power to the people, but no, it's people are power. And on the right here is the prince, right? Machiavelli. Recently, I've been divulging into Robert Greene's books, which is a lot of social calibration, understanding, the nuances of people making mistakes or making the correct move to move in the social ladder. I think, there's an obvious, you can use this for good, or you can use this for evil as far as social skills. The courtier is an important aspect. It's probably in some cases the most important because we've seen people literally move up in the ladder of life by knowing the right person and given the right opportunity at the right time. So this is a very important way, and don't skip this. I know we have a lot of high achievers that just by raw intelligence and willpower and raw strength can get pretty far. But man, would it help to have some social connections. Through the courtier, your character is your own ace in the hole. Your very nature and your ability to navigate through social scenes becomes a strength. So in social settings where things can turn on you, you make things work for you. This is going to work through consistent networking events within relevant fields. So let's say you work in finance or accounting, or you're in tech, or you're in the art world. You're going to go network relevant to those to meet like-minded individuals. You're going to have to develop high-value social skills. And these are high-value social skills because I've seen these work in different places. The most obvious ones are de-escalation. You're going to have to bring down the tension and not make people think this is getting really stressful and I don't like being here. If you're able to do that, you're able to go make things from here to here. You're going to go very far. Trust me, you're going to be considered a very pleasant person that knows how to just cool things off and help people feel like, okay, that could have been bad, but thank God Peter was there. Negotiation. This is one of the most important things. This goes hand in hand with learning how to sell. You're going to have to negotiate. You're going to have to stand up for yourself and be able to talk to people and say, I don't like that. I was thinking this, but I'm going to talk to you in a respectful way, not demand, you either get me this or I'll kill you. You don't ask for that. You negotiate. You probe, and you understand how to, from their perspective and your perspective, make things work. There's so many good persuasion books and how to sell. I think you should look into that for this. Probing and investigation goes into you got to figure out why someone's mad. You got to figure out why someone's sad. You got to figure out what makes a person happy. If you're able to, hand in hand with the next one, judge character, you're going to be able to figure out who is a high value person that work with and keep in your circle or not. Speaking of which, so having friendships and circles of network in different industries is going to help you be a more well-rounded person. Breaking the ice with certain people requires, hey, I know someone in nursing. Yeah, they talk about this or that. How do you feel about that, And be able to level on the ground is going to help you so much. It's going to be the ultimate way to feel like you're not literally them, but you feel like, okay, so I understand from your perspective you're worried about this or that. You need to expand beyond your social circle and be able to talk to other people from different industries, lifestyles, views on life, and things like that. And having a positive reputation preceding you, I mean, that would just be awesome. People know you as pleasant, hardworking. It doesn't even have to be pleasant, actually. Some people are just like, he's a jerk, but man, does he get it done? That's okay. But being like, okay, pleasant to work with, gets it done, and is very warm and open to talking to people, this is going to help. Philosophy, psychology, history, art, and humanities are excellent ways to give you a look into how people think, how people react. You study these things, you're going to get a better idea of like how to work alongside people and make things like interesting and have relevant information to pull from your back pocket to talk about. Say like, oh, that reminds me of this or that. I'm not saying you're gonna have to be a nerd and just bring these up, but like when you think about that, when they're saying something and you're thinking like, oh, that reminds me of this, like that. All right. So the 3 milestones you're gonna have to achieve. You're gonna have to regular time and networking and social events. These people are just sitting around. I don't know why I chose this picture. These are all very corporate friendly. I should have chosen different pictures. All right. Developing high demand social skills. So here, obviously, there's tension within this prod. I was I was in my my master's program, and there was a tense moment to get a project done. And this was not a good use of skills. But eventually, I just said, all right, let's ignore that guy. Let's get back to the project. And he did feel out of place after that. But it's like, we got to get the project done. Like, you're talking too much. Anyways, and having excellent reputation preceding you, I mean, that freaking helps. People vouching for you helps with getting new jobs, helps with meeting new people, helps with having organization open doors for you. A lot of things in life are, yeah, you have the money, and yeah, you probably have the time to join us, but we need to still snuff you out and vet you and see if you're worth investing into. And the best way to do it is they ask someone else, how was it like working out with so and so? All right, so we're getting closer to the end. We're going to actually talk about the phases of change. So how do I plan this? How should this be sequenced? I'm an overthinker and I need structure, right? Well, here it is. I'm here to help you out. And I'm here to help you out how you should plan this out. So evolution is a product of time and demands of the environment. So straight up, you need to have the time and the environment to do this. So you need to, surround yourself with the right people and get ready to produce work that is relevant to becoming a Renaissance man. The phases you must prepare yourself for must be strategic, not just passionate, right? So you can't just be thinking, I'm going to go at it like an animal with my mouth open, ready to bite something, and I'm just going to go at it. You need to have a little bit of sequence and understanding of, I'm going to build a foundation. This journey requires a mental change, not just a physical change. In some cases, a spiritual passion is required too. You need to have a mentality that I'm undergoing this. You got to get rid of your previous identity and understand that I'm a Renaissance man now. I'm a person with discipline in multiple fields. I'm interested, I'm curious, and I'm going to meet an excellent standard. You must be realistic and ambitious at the same time. Without a foundation or prerequisite, you are not positioned to demand from yourself. It is not helpful to jump ahead and say, I'm going to learn this harder subject before you even get, your toes wet in a elementary level subject, right? You're kind of doing yourself a disservice. I mean, yes, it's good to learn, but if you can't even do the basics, how can you say you're deep diving into the advanced? It'll come across as superficial. And if you talk to a fellow colleague of that subject, they'll find out quickly, like, oh, you don't understand what you're talking about at all. Like you're just TikToking, you're just YouTubing, you're just Instagramming this stuff. You're not actually demanding more from yourself. Which at the same time, demanding from yourself, you need to know change can hurt and be uncomfortable. Embrace the suffering and you will evolve. You need to be humble. You need to have, you know, you can have a little bit of ego, but you need to understand that you can be wrong. You can be a student again, and understand that the teacher will point out your mistakes. And when you get your paper back and you didn't score 100, you can't just be like, well, I knew that. I made a simple mistake. You said, okay, I didn't know that. What did I get mixed up with? How did I do it wrong? What did they say I should be doing? And essentially, you need to keep the needed and get rid of the unnecessary. You need to get ready to, when you make your plan of what exactly you want to learn from each different mask for each different phase, you need to understand that you need to have a focus towards the things you want to do and not feel like you have to do everything, because everything will come in time, but you need to do things at a time. You need to be careful with how you plan this. You need to be intentional, because you need to show respect to yourself that at this time for the next blah, blah, blah days or months, I'm focusing on this. This is what I want to do. This is who I'm going to become to get ready for this, who I'm going to become in the future. So 4 phases, just 4. It's kind of like the quarters of a year, right? The rebuild phase is foundational. It's set here and will set up the success for every other phase. You must have this complete before going forward. We will be addressing deep-seated issues, and I'll get deeper into that as I go through the phases. Just hold on. Expansion phase, you'll be acquiring, exploring new skills or concepts. You are allowed to finally build upon your foundation, chisel away at your character to craft a new identity. This is when you got the marble statue, hammer and chisel. Now you're really exploring and building out what you are. It's not finished yet. So dominance phase is, if we're on the same metaphor, the same analogy, you're fine-tuning. So you're going to get good at your craft, really good, and you're going to smooth out weaknesses. People should be noticing you within your selected communities. And finally, the legacy phase. If this is what we want to talk about, this is when you're not just fine-tuning, this is getting ready for show ready. This is like you finally showing the statue to people. Awesome. You're going to lead and contribute to your craft. Congrats. You've made it here where your self-actualization and your belief in yourself should be much stronger, because you went through the hard work of starting, exploring, fine-tuning, and getting ready to give back to the communities you've decided to be part of. This is awesome if you make it here. So the rebuild phase itself is something that you're creating a foundation that cannot be torn down. You need consistency, patience, and a lot of leeway. You're going to fix your life during this phase and give yourself a chance to be slow but intentional. I'm going through this right now. I gave myself 90 days. I'm wrapping up on February 28th. Wrapping up. I gave myself goals, which I will go over in another video, which I will call rebuild phase, wrap up, and conclusion. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to talk about my specific goals. During this phase, you're going to fix some life things that you should have fixed years ago. Fixing your sleep, fixing your diet, start showing up to the gym, start reading a book, start learning, how to get a job, secure your first source of income, right? And then going out there, introducing yourself to people on a basic level. I mean, these are very foundational stuff that if you've had anxiety before, if you had a life-changing event that just threw you off, you should definitely be looking into starting over. This is the rebuild phase. Okay, you got to give yourself a blessing and the time to start over and be slow with it. Like the things I've listed, fixing your sleep, diet, starting at the gym, getting a job. These are things that people expect that you get done when you're 18 or 19. Okay, hey, you're in college now, or you're working for the first time, or you're in boot camp. Let's get you together. Let's start crafting the man or woman you're going to be, right? But no, things happen, right? Like you might have got injured, you might have lost your job, you might have, you know, had a kid, you might have to move a different country, you might have had to do something. This is what it's calling for. Deliberate focus on yourself so that you don't shatter. Having a great sleep schedule, having a great diet, and starting to go to the gym. Man, that's more than most people are willing to do for themselves. Like having a job. I mean, especially in this job economy nowadays. Great. And then like putting yourself out there at networking events and just learning like what kind of events you like to go to. Learning what people expect at events and networking events. Learning what kind of people you even want to network with. These are great basic things you should look into to help yourself. And I got a more detailed version of mine. I'll post it later. But this is just to give you an idea like, okay, this is the absolute basics and essentials. And it may sound like a lot for people, but I mean it. It's just one of those things where like you get this, you're further a lot ahead than a lot of people. Expansion phase. You're going to build upon your foundations, finally start extending your skills. Your confidence should be much higher because you've proven yourself. You can put in the work for the foundation. Go explore. Go explore. If you're looking at the ultimate, start a martial art, class and check it out. That'll go beyond just, weightlifting, cardio, and stretching. Now you're actually learning a useful skill to protect yourself and others. And then look into supplementation like pre-workouts and creatine beyond just the whey protein that you usually drink. The Empire. Get a second job. Look into like save the Empire. Look into saving money and just taking care of yourself further because when you hit certain milestones of being able to protect yourself financially, you might consider like, okay, look, what if I got a second job and looked into that, and I get to meet more people? Courtier, develop a second group of friends. Don't just hang out with the same people. Learn to hang out with different people. Learn how friendship group A reacts to maybe introduce these people, friendship group A to friendship group B, and see how they gel. Maybe not. So psychology and history, a new hangout spot. Explore your city. Pick up psychology and history. Those things are interesting, so you can understand and look into people's different mentalities. Very, very fun phase. This is what a lot of people like. If you make it through your foundational phase in the rebuild, man, you get to have a little fun. You get to meet new people. You get to go to a new city. You get to try new sports, and you get to try to make more money. This is fun. This is where I get to see, a little bit of reward. Dominance phase. Okay, so you're going to sharpen your craft, and this will be intense and fast. You're beyond the testing phase and need to refine upon your skills. So at this point, you have an idea who you are, right? You have an idea of who you've become and who you're probably going to become in the future. You can always change that, but you have an idea of your tendencies and your habits. During this phase, you're going to look into just fine-tuning and making things better. So let's get a little bit more specific beyond my sample plan here. For the ultimate, let's say you're trying to do a weightlifting competition, right? You might know you're more of a stronger bench presser or a stronger squatter or stronger deadlifter. And people say, work on your weaknesses and then, maintain your strengths. But there's times where it's like, okay, make your strengths undeniable. Make your squat world class or like work your way to being world class if you're that good. See how far you can go. If you like to fight, don't just like settle for, okay, I just want to be well rounded. Like, okay, my boxing's pretty good. I'm going to make you have to take me on stand up. Like my defense with takedowns and grappling will be so good, you're forced to like have to stand in front of me. Firearms training and learning strategic ways, expanding your mind beyond, hand-to-hand combat. That's great. The Empire. Now that you got a second source of income, right? You're going to continue building your emergency fund, learn about the 401k, and then turn your secondary or tertiary income into passive income, and find a way that you don't even need to be involved that much. So then you could get fourth source of income, or look into more, which we will discuss. And the courtier. You're going to be a leader. You're going to host an actual event and have people come out to you. You're going to invite people. You're going to join an organization to volunteer. You're not just going to keep going to these events and keep networking. You're going to eventually join one and contribute and be a member and have your name in the community. You're going to have to learn some of the hardest skills in socializing, which is selling, negotiating, handling awkward situations. You're going to be high value because of it. They're going to ask you, hey, bring Peter in. We got a tough client or something like that. And you're going to continue making deeper studies of psychology, history, and observations. I mean, this is going to be very helpful for you to put together pieces and puzzles in your head of like, okay, I've been through this before. This is probably what's going to happen for this social situation. Because humans can only divulge so much from the past. All right. Finally, the legacy phase. So you should not recognize the man you were a year ago. That was a faded memory, and you're proud of how far you've come. You have the foundation, the advanced skill set, and the direction you need to get to the refined and final stage of the becoming. There was a saying I really like, which is, if you are the person you were 5 to 10 years ago, what a waste of a life. And, the person you were before you started this program didn't know a lot but wanted. Basically they didn't know what they were, but they were unrefined diamonds, right? And then now you are so further ahead because you probably are incredibly more fit. You probably know how to fight now. You probably have a strategic mind of being able to protect yourself. You have at least one or two primary and secondary sources of income, and you have savings, you have money coming in so you can retire early. And at this point, you need to think about running a business because money and you have the fire and passion to maintain something. So you need to try starting a business. And then I don't believe in starting a business too early, because starting a business itself, much like a student, it's much like becoming a student. You have to have the mentality and be open to learning. And it would be punishing and painful to tell people, yeah, if you just want to make money, just start a business. It's like not everyone's going to be that inclined and open-minded to do so. Like, there's so many challenges starting a business. So at this point, you should have the confidence, like, I run my money well. I have all these skill sets. I've been exposed to different industries and different types of jobs. I think I can start a business now, and every single job you take, or every single source of income you take, you should be at this point learning something from it. Oh, I learned a little bit of marketing. I learned a little bit of sales. I learned a little bit about admin. I learned a little bit about accounting and finance. I learned about reporting. I learned how to do this and that. This is an opportunity to learn. And then with the courtier, you should have your reputation precede you. People should be talking you up when you show up. People will probably talk down about you because they're jealous, but people should be excited to meet you because they heard about you. People should be excited to talk to you because they get a good feeling from you. You should have influence and connections across multiple industries. You should be thinking about, hosting events beyond yours. You should be asked if, you can be a host. You should be, successful in navigating different social situations that climb different other leaders of industries that went on a similar path to yours, fellow Renaissance men. So I want to say thank you. This is my first extremely long form video. I actually like talking about this stuff because I'm very passionate about just improving myself. In the next few months and days, we're going to get into details of how my workouts have been, how my martial arts skills have been, how my studies of art, how's my networking going, how's my business idea that I've been working on trying to go, and just, travel, just surrounded by good people. I just want to say thank you. I mean, I know it's a small audience right now. I only got like 59 subscribers. But the fact that you subscribed just when I was posting workout videos means a lot. So I'm looking forward to hearing responses and comments. I hope y'all have a great day. Um, it's 6:35 a.m. I woke up at 4 a.m. I said I wanted to make a video. So here we are. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Next time on the Modern Renaissance Man.